In the depths of surreal animation and abrasive humor lies a strange world, Alfred's Playhouse. To many, it's a bizarre, grotesque cartoon that exists in the corners of Newgrounds and obscure YouTube archives. But for those who are to look a little deeper, it's a fractured mirror reflecting the complex, sometimes painful memories of its creator, Emily Youcis. Today we will dive into the twisted logic of Alfred's Playhouse, dissect its symbolic DNA, and uncover what it reveals about trauma, childhood, and the search for identity. Today, I'll be implementing a new series. I'll be diving into YouTube's darkest channels, contents that has largely gone unnoticed, or a series that should never ever be forgotten. And one such series, and one that will play as the first part of this massive series on this channel, Alfred's Playhouse. Let's get into it. Disclaimer warning. This time, I will stress this warning even more so than usual, as we will talk about so many grotesque and dark stuff in today's video. I'm not usually shook by these type of medias, however, it's a lot more disturbing when said animation, movie, video, or even picture serves as a pre-warning for things to come. But with that out of the way, let's do the Holy Trinity for me. Like, comment, subscribe. Actually, hold out on that last bit there, the subscribing bit, because I'm pretty sure by the end of this video, I would have earned your subscription by that time anyway. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So Alfred's Playhouse is actually a three-part trilogy series that was once on Newgrounds by the creator Emily Youcis. I hope I'm saying your name right. So we will just kind of go down the parts. Video 1, video 2, and video 3. We're going to break it down, understand what it is that's happening, because it's going to be hard to edit this. I'm not going to lie. I will be talking a lot. This will be a yappinator type of video just because I'm aware of how much is being shown, and I don't feel like missing out on something and showing this to the world. It is a very dark and a very grotesque, obviously it's a very early 2000s content that used to be on YouTube. And if you know anything about YouTube and Newgrounds, a lot of things were just super unfiltered. And so we'll be seeing a glimpse into how this platform gave someone like Emily Youcis the ability to share their story. At first glance, Alfred's Playhouse seems to like pure chaos, a malformed parody of children's programming. Think Pee-wee's Playhouse meets a fever dream or something like it, trips on shrooms, and then it gets hit by a train. The main character, Alfred, an anthropomorphic dog with a broken psyche, navigates an incoherent world populated by faceless puppets, static filled with screens, and disjointed language. But beneath the comedic facade lies a carefully constructed descent into the mind of a child trying to make sense of a dysfunctional environment. The broken language, the non-squeaters, the melting logic, all invoke the experience of a child interpreting adult trauma without the tools to actually understand it. I'm not kidding, legit. On the very first video, we start off on a chaotic note. Constantly showing very disturbing images, but then showing a very, for lack of better words, girly things like a princess blanket and whatnot. Immediately, the imagery paired with the words are quite dark. Since I don't feel like censoring everything, here's the opening lyrics. Get out of bed, don't wonder how the blood got there. Good morning. If Steve Martin violated you in your sleep, you won't care. There's a place for you can escape to mentally. Only silliness is making forced entry. for purpose of self-preservation here at Alfred's Playhouse. And it pretty much just continues just like that for the rest of the song, talking about how denial is kind of like liquor in terms of how it distorts reality and blocks away the pain. She goes on to list a bunch of characters, some that are bright and pretty, and others that seem to reflect what may be really going on behind the scenes, while also mentioning very disturbing implications of their daily life, saying how cocktails were always resting on the dishwasher, implying that the mom used to be an alcoholic, saying how she really only wants her Playhouse friends because those are the only people that she likes to be around, and another example being left in a Goodwill or nearly being drowned by said mother. And honestly, the worst detail yet, and I quote, "You don't have to feel the guy's sticky stuff in your hair." Now, as of right now, I am not sure if this was inspired by personal events within the creator's life or if it was just loosely based upon something similar which happened to her, but it is clear to see just how well portrayed a child's coping mechanism for sexual trauma is, and also where the creator has ended up in today's media. But that's something we're going to be getting into a little later into the video. Moving further into the video, there is a scene where I'm just going to call the fox Alfred at this point. It's either Pickles or Alfred, I'm not sure which. At this point begins to recall a memory that sends her in a spiral. Now, to backtrack a little bit, the reason why I think that the fox is called Pickles is because in an interview I actually do recall Emily stating that she did used to have a dog named Pickles, but then also in the video that we're gonna see here, the Candyman calls her Pickles. So I'm not sure if she's just using that word because it's been something present in her life before, or if it's just all a coincidence. But we're gonna go with Alfred. But as I said, moving further into the video, there is a scene where this memory sends Alfred into a literal downward spiral, the Candyman. We see this scene play out in a POV perspective. The Candyman keeps offering Alfred their favorite popsicle. Alfred constantly tries to ignore the proposition, but finally gives in, and that's when the Candyman tells them to turn around and that the popsicle is coming. This then erupts into a room full of chaos. I don't think it takes a genius to understand what was implied here, and to make matters worse, or at least more dire, I think it's about time we learn a little more about the creator to really put this video into perspective. Because as of right now, I'm going to take down the mask, I'm going to take down the vial, the curtains, whatever you want to say. I know exactly what happens, right? I've already written the script. Me writing this right now, reading it to you guys, I've already written the script. I know exactly what everything is, and I usually just fake ignorance to allow it to be a more homey feeling for the videos. But dude, honestly, it's one of those things, like when you have the full picture of knowing where Emily's life ended up and how she became as a person, and just the little details she sprinkles in all her different interviews, really disturbing. One thing we're gonna wrap back to is the little Pickles. The little Pickles really gives me the willies, and I will tell you why. So let's just learn more about Emily, and I think you'll understand why I feel the way that I feel about that name. So, who is Emily? Emily Youcis, a Philadelphia-born animator, first gained notoriety for her unfiltered and deeply experimental animation style. She has cited classic animations, absurdist humor, and the surreal horror of real life as her influences. But most crucially, she has been open about drawing from her troubled upbringing. In interviews and early internet forum discussions, Emily has hinted at themes of emotional neglect, psychological instability, and alienation. Alfred's Playhouse isn't just a creative project, it's a coping mechanism. It's a symbolic retelling of her childhood, seen through the lens of abstraction. The result? A fractured narrative where logic is inconsistent, much like the life of a child navigating an unstable home. I leaned towards this point before, but seeing where and how Emily ended to where she is currently backs up the claim that she did not have the greatest upbringing. But I think in order for us to truly understand Emily and what she has become in the current day, we need to understand who she is as a person first. Emily's digital footprint begins all the way back in 2005 on Newgrounds, oftentimes posting very edgy content that you'd expect from the times, though her content would be concerning. While some were just goofs and laughs, others explored alienation, childhood abandonment, and how the want for love could lead to extreme narcissism. And that's when she would release her 3-part series, Alfred's Playhouse, which we'll be going more deeper into later in the video. Mind you, when she made this series, she was just 16 years old, each part reflecting an ugly part of the human nature, unhealthy coping mechanisms, and glimpses into Emily's childhood, as she would later state in interviews how her childhood was not that great, and even in 2013, 6 years later, she confirmed that to be the case, stating, "Yes, it is true. I did not have a healthy, normal childhood. I was sexually abused, amongst other things. Now my family is somewhat in shambles, and yet I can still feel the joy and love and pleasure and the highest highs. Animating is probably the closest I've ever come to heaven in my life, and that's what I get out of it." Within the series, it is very clear to me that Alfred is simply a stand-in, or at least was a stand-in for Emily, and for her to cope with these feelings of trauma, abandonment, and sexual abuse and sexual trauma. But according to Emily herself, she'd mentioned how the series was a big metaphor for the stance on politics.
So for all you kids in the chat, you know about these fucking safe spaces, right? These the shit the liberals do, where they can't handle reality and they can't handle words, so they go la 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 la, and they run to their safe space and they play with cards and Play-Doh and stuff and shit like that. So in Alfred's Playhouse in 2007, I perfectly described the safe space, the Playhouse. So it starts out, and it's to the Pee-wee's Playhouse thing. Get out of bed, but don't wonder how the blood got there. If Steve Martin violated you in your sleep again, you will not care. Because there's a place you can escape to mentally, or only silliness is making forced entry, for the purpose of self-preservation, here at Alfred's Playhouse. And it keeps going. It's a fantasy world of fun, where reality is distorted. Where a man-child goes to forget he was unsuccessfully aborted. It's kind of like liquor. Your perception is changed like magic, so you can flee when the real world causes havoc. It's wacky denial! Here at Alfred's Playhouse. And then it goes on, Stalin sign and death lists, and so, you know, even back then I knew that communism was or the safe space was a symptom of communism. This leftist propaganda of censorship.
If you couldn't already tell, her politics range heavy into the far right. And I just want to sit here and preference this. I'm not here to pick sides, choose sides, say which is better, which is more corrupt. I don't want to get into that. But rather, I just want to point out the facts. And the facts is, somehow, some way, she has become a white nationalist. Now, obviously, I don't know her personally, but knowing parts of her childhood, the way she grew up, how she felt during school, and even animations that came due to this fact, I don't believe Alfred's Playhouse to be a big political metaphor, but rather an interpretation that was shoehorned later on. She even said so herself, stating that it was something more of a subconscious choice that she wasn't even aware of at the time. But now her fame has become infamous. In 2016, Emily's public image shifted dramatically when she was seen attending a white nationalist conference in Washington, D.C., and engaging in confrontations with protesters who were there. Following these events, her employer, Amarak, terminated her position, citing that her public political activities conflicted with the company's values. Subsequently, Emily became more active in the far-right circles, co-hosting the podcast Modern Politics with her husband Warren, a member of the National Justice Party, As of May of 2025, Emily remains active in the far-right media and continues to promote white nationalist views through various platforms, podcasting, and media engagement. As I had stated earlier, Emily co-hosts the podcast Modern Politics with her husband, Warren. The show is actually available to watch, and it discusses topics from white nationalist perspective, including critiques of the U.S. foreign policy and discussions on race and identity politics. Recent episodes have addressed subjects such as the rise of white nationalist sentiment and the response to critical race theory. So it kind of just puts it in perspective what type of person she became and how her trauma could have formed it. Now, like I keep saying, I don't know her personally, so I don't know if she has always been this way or if something happened in her personal life where it made it that way. But all I do know is what I believe in personally and what I'm seeing now. I am a very free-spirited person. I'm a very judge-free person. I try not to judge all the different religions and beliefs out there, but I'm always a hard stop when it is obviously a belief that separates and, I guess, puts down a minority and says that one person, one group of people are better than the rest. That's when I put a hard stop. I don't care what you are. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what your belief is. That is a hard stop. Hard stop. We do not like discrimination on this channel. We are accepting. We accept people for who they are, whether you are gay, whether you are on the spectrum, whether you don't know what you are. We accept who you are. And when I'm reading this and I'm seeing the amount of people that have been touched by her stories, by her animations, it makes me so annoyed, because it's so ironic that the person who is so responsible for unifying so many people, so many different people with all the similar experiences, comes out and discriminates against a group of people and favors another group of people. Really disappoints me. But yes, in 2024, Emily performed a Patriot Jam as an event associated with the far-right activism. A video of her performance was released in anticipation of the 2025 event on YouTube. And finally, Emily continues to produce content that aligns with her ideological views. For instance, she created a video titled Randy Fine, the Zion King, which critiques political figures from her perspective. Additionally, she participated in a live stream on April 4th of 2025 discussing topics consistent of her established viewpoints. We don't have to get into that. And overall, Emily remains an active figure in the far-right circles, utilizing podcasts, public events, and online platforms to disseminate her views. Emily's transformation from a quirky internet animator and beloved stadium vendor to a figure associated with extremist ideologies has made her a controversial and polarizing personality in recent years. Her case is often cited in discussions about the intersection of personal beliefs, public expression, and professional consequences. Now, I do think we've talked enough about Emily and knowing her upbringing and where she ends, but now I think it gives us an interesting perspective on her work, because now we know where it ends, and it gives us the magic of how do we get here now. I want to see the bridge. I want to see the path of where it led. We know where it leads. We know, we've seen it. We've heard about it. We've listened to it. But now we want to know, could it have been avoided? Has it always been present? We just want to get the finer details. And in order to do that, we would need to get into the second installment of Alfred's Playhouse. When this video asked if I was 18 plus, I was like, ain't no way they're asking me this. Let me just get this damn thing over with. I want to watch it, right? And every time I've seen something like this on Instagram or TikTok or any other thing, even YouTube shorts, it'll say 18 plus, don't watch. And it's usually the tamest thing you could ever see. It'll just show a puppy or a squirrel falling out of a tree or something, and they'll be like, oh my god, you can't watch this, you're gonna be traumatized for life. When this video said that, I thought it was going to be the tamest thing ever. Not here. No, not this video. This video quite literally made me sick to my stomach. This video begins with Alferd saying how they have friends in the walls, but they can't tell anyone because it's their little secret. Then they all come out and they start tickling him, or them, or her. Anyway, they start tickling them. It's all happy, cute, and fun. Then they start touching each other inappropriately. A little weird, but hey, maybe that was just a weird choice of animation. Then they just straight up fuck each other and they start raping Alfred, crawling into their butthole and puking and grinding all over them. It is a disgusting play of events. All the while, every bodily fluid you can think of is spewing everywhere. Throw up, vomit, piss, anything. It's disgusting. And I'm so sorry, future Yuri. I don't know how in the world you're gonna edit this, but I'm sorry. Alfred begins to freak out, but then realizes that all they really want is a bit of pity. And so they begin cutting themselves so that way they can be pitied. And this scene lasts for 2 minutes straight, I swear to God, with the most chipper music you can think of. All the while Alfred is just hacking away at their leg, crying, sobbing while doing so. And oh yeah, Mr. Globe is just straight up jerking it while she does this, which could just show how the world is doing nothing while the suffering is in plain sight, using the phrase that they're just jerking off somewhere. But again, Emily herself interprets this quite differently, so who really knows? Then boom, that's the end of the video, or at least the second video. One of the most immediately unsettling things in Alfred's Playhouse is the dialogue. It's fragmented, often unintelligible, filled with repetition, stuttering, and nonsense words. This isn't random. Language breakdown here symbolizes psychological fragmentation. A child in a hostile environment often suppresses or misinterprets what's happening. Words lose their meaning when the feelings behind them are too dangerous to express. Psychologists note that children who endure trauma or emotional neglect often develop speech patterns that reflect their confusion and their fear. The babbles in Alfred's Playhouse isn't just funny or weird, it's a scream muffled by layers of absurdity. The title, Playhouse, is a dark joke. The word play implies freedom and creativity, but Alfred's Playhouse is a claustrophobic, repetitive, and uncanny. It's a prison disguised as a child's fantasy. This mirrors the experience of growing up in a chaotic home, trapped in a familiar space, but with no true safety or control. Alfred frequently tries to make sense of the world, but every attempt leads back to confusion or failure or crying or having a panic attack. Characters speak in riddles, situations reset. It's like the cycle of dysfunction, trying to resolve trauma within the same broken system that caused it. And now for the third installment. Video 3, which is the last of the trilogy, begins with Alfred floating down, saying how no one likes them, but the Playhouse friends love them. We then get yet another scene of the aftermath of sexual assault by the Candyman. It's just gross shit. We don't need to harp on a dead horse. The next scene is probably the longest dialogue we've actually gotten in the series thus far. Alfred pretty much explains what exactly Alfred's Playhouse is, and I think it shows a genius writing of duality between someone trying to isolate themselves from that trauma and those trying or too beaten by the trauma. I think you guys should just watch. It's really, really good.
Whoops, we did not mean for you to see that. Well then, I guess the real question is, would you rather get sodomized by the Playhouse or reality? Because you're gonna get sodomized either way! Don't. Look, Alfred, the thing is, we're not real. I'm just a hallucination. But I'm part of a good trip, man. See, The Playhouse is here to keep you from knowing very bad things. For instance, you recall a flashback you had involving a popsicle up the ass? Well, what do you know? That's reality. I bet you didn't remember getting violated with a frozen treat until that flashback, did you? I don't know. Well, that's because the Playhouse was so kind as to keep it from you. Isn't that just dandy? So don't get mad at us. We've shielded you from the painful truth. We fight to serve you, the common man. But, here's the real bitch slapper. You want to know why else you can't remember? You want to know why else you can't remember that popsicle? Popsicle. Oh, teacher, pick me! Because I remember quite well. Actually, it happened to me! I was filling in for you with your altered personality, straining in your body, doing that frozen cold, fruity-licious popsicle, and meanwhile you were dancing the polka with Jerry Seinfeld unicorns! That was the Playhouse, created so you could dance the polka and be all merry and innocent and happy and la-la! But I also came into existence. You could go unpreserved and unscathed. I am, for the sole, empty purpose of being a trash receptacle for everything you couldn't handle. And you filled up that emptiness well, didn't you, Alfred? Filled with all your pain, all your trauma. For that pain rotted at the bottom of that receptacle and in turn filled it with desire. Filled me with seething desire for power and revenge. And created my own being, my own purpose and need. The abuse that happened to your little body fed and nourished me, made me grow, saved me from the twisted mold of the past. Miserable I have seen and know the truth. I am Dictator Pickles! So let me give it to you straight. That thing there, that is you. That cannot handle reality. No one in reality will ever love that. I know it. But the Playhouse loves you, so why don't we go back to how it was? Forget we've been sodomizing you, and you can remain in ignorant bliss. You know, 2 + 2 is 5, and all that jazz. And besides, Alfred, you are forgetting one tiny thing. We are your mind. How can you escape from yourself?
The duality of Alfred, knowing full well that the path of ignorance is the wrong one, but in the end, it's just simply too much. They couldn't take it. And so they created a version of themselves that gave up on reality, gave up on the painful memories, gave up on trying to mend the broken wound, but simply letting it fester behind closed doors. There is a final scene which showcases an individual who is okay with living in delusion, if that means the pain will not be felt. Now to dream up any fantasy land possible, we see all the different Alfreds from the different parts, and now they make so much more sense. These are all Alfreds, all actively trying to forget the memories and play in Alfred's Playhouse. Much like how David Lynch uses absurdity as a tool of emotional honesty, when emotions are too complex or painful to express directly, they manifest as surreal visuals. Alfred's exaggerated expressions, the melting environments, and the jarring sound design all reflect inner turmoil more truthfully than realism ever could. In absurdism, humor and horror exist side by side. The world becomes so irrational that it mirrors the inner chaos of a traumatized mind. For Youcis, this was not only artistic, it was therapeutic. She gave form to her pain by rendering it unreal. What can Alfred's Playhouse actually teach us? First, the humor can be a survival mechanism. Even the most grotesque characters may be vessels for real suffering. Second, that childhood trauma is often expressed indirectly. Alfred's Playhouse reminds us that art, no matter how strange, can be a form of healing. Emily turned her childhood pain into something uniquely powerful, a nightmare with purpose. It's a warning, a memory, and a message all in one, and one that allowed so many people to find comfort in the pain. There is a saying that I actually saw in one of the comment sections in the YouTube videos that I was watching it on, that art comforts the disturbed and disturbs the comfortable. That's it. Art comforts the disturbed but disturbs the comfortable. If that wasn't true enough for this, I always say that I don't think I'm capable of fully understanding, and that's why I created this YouTube channel, because I naturally flock to things that I don't understand, and I try to truly understand them. And I think I've become a better person because of it, or at least a more mature individual because of it. And when I react to things like this, video 2, genuinely some of the worst stuff that I've ever watched in my life. I simply could not watch it all the way through. I got sick to my stomach. I couldn't express to you just how disgusting I felt. I laid out on the bed and I felt like I was nauseous. I felt like I was getting ready to throw up. And it was to the point where I had paused it right when Alfred was cutting their leg, and it was just on a frame where they were yanking out a piece of flesh with a stapler. And as soon as I saw it, like 20 minutes later, it all reset. And I was like, how am I gonna finish this video if I can't even finish what I'm talking about? It's really bad. In the end, Alfred's Playhouse isn't about making sense. It's about feeling what it's like when the world doesn't make sense to you. Emily gave us a raw glimpse into the experience, and in doing so, created something that defies definition, yet begs to be understood. And now for my favorite part. You know it's bad when I write in my script, yap. That's the only thing that I put here. It's hard for me to just talk about this. I gotta collect my thought process first. First and foremost, hello Emily. If you're watching this, hello, how are you doing? I know you may not like me, I mean being a white nationalist and all, but I would like to understand you. And this was my, I guess, attempt of understanding what happened, because I heard about you before I even crossed paths with Alfred's Playhouse. I never heard about that until I made Parasite Flower, and someone said it was very similar to that experience. I thought that experience was very gruesome, and so I said, why not? And when I pull it up, I notice your face. I've heard about you. Ah, you're the girl from 2024, the white nationalist. Everybody doesn't like you. Everybody hates you. And when watching your stuff, my disdain for you quickly became that of understanding, of sorrow, of pity. It's very similar to how Alfred, within the context of the series, said they wanted to be pitied. Well, I pity you. I don't know you personally, and I don't know if you're doing anything to help your mental state. I don't know if art has been that therapeutic thing for you that has made you come this far into life. But I do know one thing, and I know that I feel bad for you. It's hard for me to say that because a lot of the things you'd say and a lot of the stances you have are directly against me.
White power! White power!
Watching your series and hearing your interviews and how you talk about your upbringing, it's very clear that you've been living with these emotions for a very, very long time. And I truly feel as if I could never understand that. I could never understand having these thoughts of alienation, loneliness, and everything else under the bus just floating constantly. One flashback, one memory will just send you in a downward spiral. I don't know if you go through that. I don't know if that was something you played up for exaggeration, or I don't know if that's something you were going through when it did happen to you. But all I can say is that I have sat here and I have felt a plethora, a paramount amount of emotions, because I think I said this before, but I always often feel like such a piece of shit when I listen and hear these stories about people with just terrible upbringings. Lacy Games, Parasite Flower, those are two recent games that I could think of where I truly felt afterwards, I just felt like I should not, I felt like I should tread lightly, that I am on thin ice, that I am quote unquote normal. I haven't experienced half of what you experience, so therefore I can't come up on air and say, hey, you're doing this wrong. I have my own beliefs. You have your own beliefs. I have my own perspective. You have your own perspectives. I have my own opinions, and you have your own opinions. My opinion is that you should never discriminate against a certain minority, or any minority at that fact. I believe that we should all be equal because, truthfully, how I move around in my own personal life, color is usually the last thing that I incorporate in someone's image. A lot of times I forget who I'm talking to until they tell me what they are. And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even incorporate that. It's the same with age. It's the same with gender. I don't care about who you are, what you are, where you are. I care about what's in the inside. And a lot of times, if we're going to sit down and have a mature conversation on very deep topics, and I think that is why my YouTube channel has become what it's become. I am open-armed with anyone out there, whether you are lesbian, bisexual, whether you are asexual, aromantic, whether you are polyamorous, monogamous. Is that how you say it? Whatever how you say it. Whether you're into certain kinks, whether you're into certain whatever you want to be into, fetishes, that's the word. All of these things. I open my hands up to everyone because I feel as if humans are all just Homo sapiens at the end of the day. We should all simply just be one. I never understood how someone could simply look at someone and deem them more dangerous than the other. I don't care who you are. I don't care if English is not your first language. I'm not going to sit here and treat you like a child. If we are peers, and if you are giving me the same respect as any other person, then so I will give you the same thing as well. That was a long-winded version of me saying, I pity you, Emily. I really do. You created something that allowed for so many people to feel heard, to have discussions about things that normally would not be felt or even uttered into the atmosphere. And yet you created something that reflected it so perfectly that something so disturbing has been described multiple occasions as nostalgic. You did that. You have the power. You are talented enough. You've sung, you've done all these things at the age of 16. And I know that you are still talented, but life seems to have stirred you in a different path. I'm not here to baby you and say that you're wrong, but I am here to say that I disagree with you. And I wish that hopefully one day you open your eyes and you realize that what you are doing and what you are saying is just totally not correct. It's totally not fair to those that have done nothing. I hope you realize that a majority of the people that you are now discriminating against, or having ideologies that discriminate them against. Anyway, I'll leave it off here. Thank you guys for watching. It's been real. It's been Yuri Plays, Yuri Senpai, Yuri Clark, whatever you know me by. That is exactly who I am. And if you guys have any other recommendations, why not put it down in the comment sections? And if you made it this far in the video, what should we say this time? Why don't you say, Tommy got a fatty? There you go. Why don't you say that? Put that down in the comment section and don't put any context. If someone says, what are you talking about? Just smile at them. But comment that Tommy got a fatty, so that way I know you are a real one that made it all the way to the end of the video. Anyway, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. And try to face your reality. Don't delude yourself in fantasies. I'll see you on the next one. Alright guys, hello, 1 second. So, I know it's ghetto. It's 5 o'clock, 5:31 right now. And when it's 5:31, all of this. Look, this is me in the sun. I don't look great. Anyway, I wanted to put in one last thing, right? I wanted to put in one last thing. And it was a comment that I saw, and I think it perfectly encapsulates what it was that I was trying to say at the very end there. And it was, well, let me just read it out to you. I think it's rather ironically sad that she makes this video discouraging her fan base from harming themselves mentally or physically, quite literally warning, don't be like Alfred, that's the point. But ended up going into a mental spiral of hateful politics to heal herself from her own trauma, just as Alfred did. I have to think she's self-aware of it somewhat, since Alfred's downfall parallels her own, which is almost more tragic. When she talks about Alfred's descent, it nearly feels as if she's speaking about herself. Also, the way she disavowed Alfred's cross-dressing and furryism, but not Nazism, is just wow. Now, that was a video that came out 11 months ago, I believe. And it was a video where she was pulling out a PSA, public service announcement, to the people, the new fan base, because, you know, life is a cycle. And so people found this old content from Newgrounds, and it started circulating on TikTok, and it became big. And so there's a lot of younger audiences thinking that this was, you know, meant for kids somehow. And there were also reports that they were using the Alfred character to get closer to minors. Also not a cool move. And so she came up online and was telling everybody how grateful she is for having this second win almost, but also to stay safe. And I think this person hit it right on the head. Her downfall parallels exactly what Alfred would go to. And that's why I think it's such a powerful full circle moment, because she foreshadowed her own downfall. And subconsciously, she was able to deduce what would happen if she went down that path. And, well, we've seen how that ended up. Now, this is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching.